We did watch one before from Baseball Doesn't Exist, which was about like the most intimidating pitcher, which 90% of it was just them like basically attacking the batter. Like, fair enough, yeah. And this one is MLB Umpires the worst in sports? I'm guessing MLB is like the big organization of baseball. Yeah, probably. By Baseball Doesn't Exist.
Baseball is a culture unlike any other sport where it is almost completely acceptable to treat officials as subhuman creatures.
Do it again and I'll knock you right in your nose!
There are countless examples of managers, fans, and players screaming in umpires' faces, throwing equipment on the field, kicking dirt on them, and physically assaulting them with almost zero consequences. Babe Ruth.
I mean, again, from the picture video, that's what I got from baseball. Like, I would have thought before it's a lot more, like, there's a lot more rules, but it seems like, yeah, it's a lot more Wild West, you know, with people fighting, taking each other and stuff like that. Seems kind of fun to watch. Like, it seems a lot more fun to watch, thinking like that, yeah.
Once walked off the mound, punched an umpire in his face, was escorted off the field by police, and was only suspended 10 games. Umpires have been beaten, spit on, yelled at relentlessly, and even shot while doing their jobs. And to some, this type of treatment is justified because Major League umpires may be the worst officials in professional sports. According to a Boston University study, home plate umpires make the wrong call over 12% of the time.
Okay, but is it because, like, I'm not an expert in baseball, you know, I've never actually watched a baseball game. I've watched a lot of baseball anime and stuff like that. But isn't it kind of hard to actually like decide whether it's a strike or a foul, right? Like that weird area of when it counts or not. So is 12% actually like really bad, or is it just because it's kind of complicated to judge? That's my question.
14 calls per game. The best ones are rarely chosen to umpire in the league's biggest games, and the worst ones are rarely fired. Umpires themselves have been punished for beating up players, beating up fans, and injuring players on the field. But soon, these umpires may be extinct. But who are the league's best and worst umpires? Are Joe West and Angel Hernandez really that bad? Why baseball has a history of blatantly promoting and encouraging umpire abuse? And is the technology that will soon replace them actually better?
Oh, technology.
You gotta give us a shot! You know what? You gotta give us a shot! Put that in your report, you little pipsqueak!
Bruh. Alright.
Major League umpire.
I mean, in a way, I could say like none of this feels like the spirit of sports, right? Like, you know, this seems kind of insane, but I can't lie, it's kind of entertaining. It's kind of entertaining.
Umpires get treated on the field worse than any other official in sports, and this is actually by design. Today, if you throw your hat at an umpire, cover home plate with dirt, steal third base, army crawl to the mound, pick up the rosin bag and throw it like a grenade, then steal second base and literally walk off the field like Philip Wellman did, you will be suspended 3 games. If you pick up your bat and throw it...
That was like a baby tantrum. Strike zones is different for each batter based on height. Oh, that's what it is. So again, yeah, like you can only assume that it makes it much harder for the umpire to be consistent. That makes sense.
Across the field directly at an umpire, hitting him in the chest like Delman Young did, you will be suspended 50 games. But if you did either of these things in the early days of professional baseball, you would probably get a raise. Because abusing umpires back then was not only accepted, it was blatantly promoted by teams, the media, and league officials for the sole reason that it boosted attendance and added to the fan experience.
I was gonna say, like, it's entertaining. I mean, it's fucked up, but clearly it's entertainment, yeah. I mean, same way people really like crazy like racing sports, you know, where it's not rare for people to die. Like, you don't really want to see someone die, but there's the, you know, excitement of like, it's a kind of life and death kind of thing, right? Like the way Groovy Rally used to be, and the way like not restrictor plate NASCAR used to be, with the crazy speed and the people like flying and rolling over and all that.
In 1903, a player was shot by a fan of the opposing team to prevent him from stealing second base. He was carried off the field and died on the sideline, but the two teams kept playing.
But like, what the fuck? Like, so the guy killed someone during the game thinking that was gonna work? Like, they were gonna be like, okay, you killed him, but you still won? That's insane. That's insane. All right.
In the 8th inning, the umpire made a call that gave one team the lead. A fan on the other team shot the umpire 3 times, started a brawl, the 2 killers ran away, and the game was canceled. In total, from 1899 to 1927, at least 8 umpires were murdered by players or fans for making controversial calls. And although...
Okay, but why do you want to be an umpire then? Sorry for posing so much, but like, this is a crazy profession to be in. Are you actually getting paid that much to, like, you know, risk your life? I mean, I'd rather go try to hunt a bear than be an umpire.
This never happened in a major league game. Umpires were frequently chased by angry mobs of fans after games for making bad calls or just any time their team lost. Similar to what happened to Laz Diaz in a game in 2003, but this guy was charged and sent to prison. In the early 1900s, police often made exceptions because in some places, umpire mobbing was just seen as part of the game. This happened so much in amateur and minor league games that local police chiefs issued orders like this one made in Virginia that required police.
Special dispatch for the Baltimore Sun. Roanoke, VA, Male Chief of Police Dyer today issued an order to the police force to protect baseball umpire from mob violence in the future, even if forced to use their clubs and pistols. Umpire Pander a few days ago had to be taken to jail from the ball grounds by a cordon of police in order to prevent personal injury at the hands of baseball enthusiasts.
To start protecting umpires from these mobs. Umpires were not only required to enforce the rules, they were required to defend themselves. If they couldn't, they were fired. Like John...
Damn, are they allowed to just go on the field with a gun? I mean, like, if I'm an umpire, give me a gun. Actually, give me a couple gun.
Conway, who may have the saddest umpire career of all time. His first year as an umpire, he was assaulted by a player on the Cardinals. 2 months later, a different Cardinals player assaulted him, causing a riot and police escort, but the umpire was actually the one who got punished, and after the season, he was fired. He went to the Eastern League, where a player was arrested and spent 10 days in jail for kicking him in the chest. Less than a week later, he was mobbed by fans after a game and had to be escorted by police to the train station. Soon after, only 3 years since he started, he quit umpiring for good.
How much is he getting
being
paid?
able to fight would not only help you survive, it would get you a promotion. Just ask George Majorkurth, who during 6 years as a minor league umpire, broke a player's jaw with his fist, punched a different player in the face, was assaulted by that player's teammate, causing police to arrive, fought a manager after a game underneath the stands, punched a fan in his face after the crowd rushed the field, and once showed up to a player's hotel room to demand an apology. When the player refused, he beat him up and was sentenced for assault and battery. The very next year, he was promoted to be a major league umpire, where he called 4 World Series, 2 All-Star games, punched a shortstop in the face, was beaten up by a fan who rushed the field, was spat on by a player, spit on a player, and once entered the stands in the middle of a game to punch a heckler in the face. He retired after 19 major league seasons due to leg injuries. The days of umpire mobbing and umpire assault slowly faded starting at the turn of the century, but managers, fans, and players screaming at and intimidating umpires any chance they could remains rampant and to large part accepted by everyone in baseball. In 1996, Roberto Alomar spit in umpire John Hirschbeck's face after he made a bad call. Alomar was only suspended 5 games. Umpire Shaq...
Okay, but spitting is literally already assault, right? I mean, obviously, like, the guy probably doesn't press charge or anything because, like, you're the umpire. If you press charge against a baseball player, maybe you get fired. But, like, spitting is some kind of assault, right? So that's kind of insane. I mean, it's not really explained so far, but, like, why? I mean, why this so hated and why is it so okay to, like, be like this, yeah? That's insane.
Crawford once was so fed up with a manager and player, he started the game while getting screamed at. Called a strike without anybody in the batter's box. The manager and 2 other players then tried to get in the batter's box. Another pitch was thrown above the players' heads, and Shag Wilson called the pitch a strike as well. Umpire Randy Marsh once ejected Bobby Valentine for arguing, but Valentine had so little respect for his authority, he put on sunglasses, a fake mustache, and came back into the dugout. Umpire Bob Davidson even had to throw out a mascot for annoying him and the players during a game, which begs the question, why would anybody want to be a major league umpire?
How much money? There's no way they're getting paid that much, come on.
Many people would respond by saying that they can get paid close to $350,000 a season, fly first class to every game, and due to a corrupt system, even if they suck, they will not only never be fired, but in many cases be promoted to call the most important playoff and World Series games. But the path to becoming a Major League umpire...
Okay, you know, the only sports that I actually watch is sumo and UFC, which, you know, UFC is not a sport. It's one of the organization of MMA, right? Mixed martial arts. And in the UFC, like, it's constantly a thing, even though no one actually beats up the ref or the judge, even though the people would want to, right? I mean, that's what's funny, right? The UFC is literally like, people are always like instantly mad at the ref because the ref often fuck up. They either stop a fight too early or too late, letting someone get hurt, or too early when someone is still fighting. And then you have the judge who it's been a thing, especially the last few years, where it's been absolutely terrible. The judge, like, they are just most of the time incompetent, especially in the big fight. A lot of big fights where a fighter clearly had won was lost because like one judge or something like rated it completely wrong. And it's like most people would agree it was wrong, and yet it's like they never actually get fired or replaced or anything like that. And yet, you know, in like a sport where it's about like people being like literally like, you know, trained killers of fighting, like, you know, the ref and the judge never get beat up for it. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying they should, but then you have baseball, which, you know, you wouldn't think this is where you would see like the players beating up the judge and umpire. Well, I guess umpire, not judge, but I guess it is. I mean, 350,000 per season. That's a lot of money. And I guess maybe back then you might expect to get killed. Today maybe less. I'm guessing like today is maybe less extreme than back then, so maybe it's worth it. Maybe it's worth it, yeah. That's a lot of money. I mean, that's a lot of bloody money. But at the same time, I mean, it's still mostly America, right? So like you might still think that someone angry at you could pull out a gun with the amount of guns, so I don't know. But it's a lot of money, so I can understand.
Is extremely miserable. First, you will need to go to an umpire school, which is required by MLB.
What we do is take a baseball and we throw it into your face.
It costs around $2,500 to enroll. The course lasts 3 to 5 weeks, where students go to class, listen to lectures, take tests, exercise, and get taught how to get screamed at by managers. Those who finish at the top of their class go on to the next evaluation, where they are graded for a week. The best umpires at this course will be rewarded with the opportunity to become a minor league umpire, where they are on the road the entire season, required to drive themselves hundreds of miles to get to each game, staying in a hotel every night, making around $60 a game, and being abused by players, fans, and managers on a regular basis. Managers like Wally Backman have become famous for tirades like this, where he followed the umpire around the field, covered home plate in dirt, and threw over a dozen bats and a bucket of balls onto the field.
Pick that up, you piece of shit.
I mean, your mind child at that point, come on.
The league didn't even suspend or fine him, and instead scolded the umpire for acting.
Like, I get being angry at the umpire, but like, bruh, he's throwing stuff onto the field. I mean, come on. Oh, hello, sir. How you doing? We have strict security to get into stadiums, so fans can't even bring food, drink. Oh, okay, so I guess a gun wouldn't get in. That makes sense. That makes sense. Fair enough. So I guess people just beat, you know, the umpire with their fists now.
Acting unprofessionally. Backman was suspended, however, for cursing out the opposing team's radio announcer and general manager for their comments about his ejection. But hands down, the pound-for-pound king of disrespecting umpires is a manager named Joe Mikulik. Joe Mikulik has built up a resume with several of the best ejections of all time.
Okay.
While arguing with a call, he once took off both his shoes and threw one of them into the opposing team's dugout. On another occasion, he took his shoes and shirt off and left them at home plate. His signature move is to demonstrate to the umpires how they got the call wrong by sliding into a base himself. He also loves taking the bases out from the ground and throwing them, punting them, or giving them to a fan.
It's some creative
but his
rage.
best ejection occurred in 2006 when he screamed at an umpire's face,
as much as
into second base, stole the bag, threw it into right field, threw the rosin bag into right field, kicked dirt on the umpire, then covered the plate in dirt, went to the dugout, threw 4 bats onto the field, went back onto the field, covered the plate in water, slammed his water bottle, screamed in the umpire's face again, and left the game. As of now,
I mean, on one side it's entertainment, but at the same time, like, how can the guy not be embarrassed of himself? I mean, like, fuck the umpire if he got the wrong call, sure, but like, this guy is acting like a baby. I mean, like, it's funny to watch, but also like, you know, does he think he's cool by doing this? It's insane.
No other minor league manager can live up to the legend of Joe Miklick, but many seem to try. Manager Gary Robinson once cursed out an umpire, covered home plate, then stole first base, autographed it, and gave it to a kid in the stands. Butch Hobson once he got ejected, then pretended to hit a home run, ran around the bases, then celebrated with his team. Player Brian Metzger once got ejected and proceeded to get a garbage can from the dugout and placed it behind home plate. Kelly pretended
that's the best one. Okay, that one I approve. That's a good burn.
To eject all three umpires, took his jersey off, used the rosin bag as a stick of deodorant, and spiked it into the ground. And Cash Bocamp took off one of his shoes, stuck it in an umpire's face, made him smell his armpit, spiked his other shoe, then went to the dugout, got 2 batting weights, and used them as binoculars. Just like players, umpires start in the lowest level of the minors. The umpires with the best evaluations will move up to the next level. However, until they get to AAA, if an umpire goes 3 seasons without being promoted, they are required to go all the way back to umpire school and start the process over again. Umpire schools regularly host over 100 umpires every single year. On average, only one of them will ever call a major league game. According to Baseball America, about 17% of players drafted in MLB will play a major league game, while only 3% of minor league umpires will ever call a major league game. And even if an umpire
So then, I mean, earlier I said it's worth it for the money, but if only 3% of the people who try to get to that level of making like 250k a year actually make it, that's insane. I mean, 3% to become rich is still like somewhat worth it, maybe. I feel like a lot of people would look at it like that, but come on. That's why we don't play baseball. I mean, I feel like, you know, again, like, baseball doesn't have to be like this. I'm sure a lot of people playing baseball aren't crazy like that. And I think that's probably, like, my impression of it, right? I mean, for most of what I've seen of baseball is from, like, anime or, like, some of the Japanese side of baseball, which obviously is, like, ultra respectful, right? It's a very different culture. So I always kind of thought, you know, the rest of the world baseball was the same. But clearly I was totally wrong. I mean, yeah. It just doesn't seem worth it to be the umpire. Except if you make it to the highest level, but otherwise you basically just suffered for a couple of years, like in the minor leagues, making like no money that was worth it, and just getting like trauma from getting abused by everybody.
Umpire is elite, it typically takes him 10 to 15 years to ever get a chance at the major league level.
10 to 15 years.
For all the hours of travel and preparation, minor league umpires get paid under minimum wage, so their motivation to move up is extremely high and is constantly being reviewed. And only the ones with the best evaluations will ever come close to the major league level. But MLB umpires still have a reputation of being the worst officials in sports, and a study done in 2018 makes it seem that this could be true. But baseball fans have been saying this for years because of calls like this. Jim Joyce calls the runner safe, but he is clearly out. Jim Joyce was voted the best umpire in the league by players in 2012 and even saved a woman's life with CPR before a game. But what he is most known for is making this call, which is one of the worst in history and prevented the final out in what should have been the 18th perfect game of all time. Or this call where the runner is called out, but Todd Helton is 2 feet off the bag. And strikes like these, where the ball is clearly right down the middle, called a ball, or way out of the zone and called a strike.
Looking at this, I'm guessing the problem is the same that sumo has. Like sumo, you know, is a very ancient sport. And while they have like, you know, a ton of camera and recording, they have like 4 judges on every corner. And, you know, in sumo, the point is to push the other person like out of the ring. And it's often the problem that only the judge can decide, and sometimes the judge get it wrong, and you know, on the recording, like on the replay, you can clearly see that they got it wrong, but for some reason they just don't want to actually judge by using the recording, even when the judge clearly got it wrong. And I guess looking at this, maybe it's the same with baseball, right? I think it's fine to have like the human judge as well, but since we have so much recording, it can't be that hard on the radio to say that, yeah, on the recording it's clear that you got it wrong, and just change on the fly the decision, right? But yeah, in sumo it's the same thing. Like they kind of refuse to do that so far. Like on the recording, it's often shown, but it's only like the judge in the room that basically get the final say, even if they got it wrong. I don't know why they really stuck to that kind of thinking, but I guess it seems the same here. Yeah, it's kind of weird. Cricket is much older than baseball. Is it? I mean, maybe. I don't know much about cricket.
Fans can easily tell when an umpire blows a call due to the animated strike zone on TV broadcasts, but umpires don't have this luxury, and it shows. Boston University analyzed over...
Yeah, but they don't need the luxury, right? I mean, if the umpire get it wrong, you just need like the broadcast team, you know, to like radio them or something and tell them, yeah, you clearly got it wrong, and that should be the culture, no? It can't be that hard, no? I mean, it really doesn't seem that hard to fix the problem, right? Like, what's the point of filming all this if you can't use like the filming to show, like to make things more accurate?
Were 4 million pitches over 11 seasons of baseball, and claimed when it comes to calling balls and strikes, Major League umpires make the wrong call over 12% of the time and averaged 14 missed calls a game. They rank the umpire based on performance, and although MLB says umpires are assigned postseason games based on how good they are, they found
perfect game is most rare accomplishment in baseball umpire. Bad call caused the pitcher this feat. Only 20 perfect game in 150 years of MLB. That is crazy. What counts as a perfect game? Is it like the other team got 0 points and you scored like every single inning? Is that what it is? Or is it like a max score or something?
some of the worst performing umpires, often called the biggest games, which historically has been a problem and produced some of the worst calls in history. In a one-game playoff to go to the NLDS, Matt Holliday went home on a sacrifice fly. When he got there, he never touched the plate, but he was called safe, scoring the game-winning run and eliminating the Padres. This was called a double play in the LCS, even though Chuck Knobloch missed the tag by at least a foot. Mike Napoli got Jorge Posada and Robinson Cano in a pickle, clearly tagged both of them while they were off the bag, but both were called safe. Even Cano thought he was out, so he left the bag again. Napoli tagged him again, but he was still called safe. In 1985, the Cardinals were 3 outs away from winning the World Series until the leadoff hitter was called safe on this play where he was clearly out. Later that inning, he and another runner would go on to score to win the game, forcing a Game 7 where the Cardinals lost. Meaning that there was a pretty good chance that this bad call cost the Cardinals the World Series. And in the 1997 NLCS, in what could have been the worst umpire performance of all time, Eric Gregg, for some reason, decided to call every single outside pitch to lefties a strike, even if they were a foot out of the zone. Livan Hernandez pitched 9 innings and set a NLCS record with 15 strikeouts, despite averaging less than 7 strikeouts per 9 innings that season. Boston University found out of the 7 umpires who called the 2018 World Series, none of them were in the top 10 best performing umpires, and the man who was selected as crew chief was actually one of the 10 worst performing umpires. Umpires are watched by evaluators on every single pitch. They are not only judged by their decisions, but also how they dress, how they conduct themselves, and even how they stand between innings. Umpires get a report after every single game, telling them what they did right, what they did wrong, and how they can improve. From 2008 to 2018, umpires improved as a whole every single year. Major League umpires are more accurate and consistent than ever before, thanks to the feedback they get on these reports. These reports also show which umpires are performing worse than the others. For a full-time umpire to be fired, evaluators have to notice a drop in performance. This does occur, but to my knowledge, them being fired for it has either never happened or is extremely rare. When umpires are fired, it's usually because of some controversial off-the-field issue. Dave Pallone was forced to resign after the New York Post reported he was involved in an illegal sex ring. He was later cleared of that charge and says MLB got rid of him solely for the fact they found out he was gay. Al Clark was fired for downgrading his first-class flights paid by MLB and keeping the money. An umpire was recently fired for failing multiple drug tests. It is way more likely for an umpire to be suspended, which actually happens quite frequently. Bruce Fremming received a 10-day suspension for using an anti-Semitic slur about an umpire administrator. Mike Williams was suspended after he caused Milton Bradley to tear his ACL. According to MLB, he baited Bradley, causing him to get mad, run out of the dugout, and hurt his knee. The umpire was suspended.
Oh, fuck off. Fuck off. Like, come on. You're telling me it's his fault? I mean, baited him to run and hurt his ACL? Come on. Come on.
for the rest of the season, and another umpire was suspended for making threats to Rob Manfred. So when umpires are punished, it seems like it's always for reasons.
Pitcher pitches all 9 innings without allowing any base runner. No hit, no walk, every target out, I see. That's a perfect game, I see. That sounds convincing, yeah. Fair enough. I guess that would not happen very often. You'd think that would only happen if, like, it's like, you know, one of the best team against, like a high school team or something, like a crazy mismatch of strengths.
Other than making bad calls, which may explain Angel Hernandez and Joe West, who are currently the two most hated umpires in Major League Baseball, and if you look at their histories, it's pretty obvious why. Angel Hernandez is from Cuba and once filed a racial discrimination lawsuit against MLB after not being selected to umpire in the World Series. The public would have had more sympathy for him if it wasn't for him being widely criticized for making calls like this, where the ball clearly goes over the fence, hits a rail, and comes back onto play. Angel looked at this on replay and still called it a double. In a playoff game, he once had 4 plays reviewed in the first 4 innings. 3 of them were reversed. He stared down and ejected former NFL.
Oh wait, so from what he said, they do that. They review the play and they can reverse the result. So they can do that.
Player Steve McMichael when he said this after singing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game" at a Cubs game.
I'll have some speaks with that home plate umpire after the game.
CC Sabathia said he doesn't understand how Angel still umpires games. Pedro Martinez says he was horrible and MLB needed to do something about him. Chipper Jones promised he would never watch a game umpired by him ever again. And after Ian Kinsler was ejected by Angel, he told the media he was surprised how bad he was at his job, which prompted Angel and other umpires to wear white wristbands to protest umpire abuse. So it is no surprise that when the court found no discrimination between MLB and Angel Hernandez, many fans were ecstatic. However, Angel Hernandez probably isn't as bad of an umpire as people think. Although he is probably below average, according to Boston University, he did not make the top 10 worst umpire list. In 2018, Joe West was on that list. He's been an umpire for 45 years, has released 2 country albums, was in the movie Naked Gun, and plays golf on the Celebrity Players Tour. He was once suspended for shoving manager Joe Torre after a game. He was suspended for grabbing Jonathan Papelbon after ejecting him, was suspended for saying Adrian Beltran was the biggest complainer in baseball, and Andre Dawson once threw 14 bats on the field because he was mad at Joe West. Joe West was once so annoyed with Raul Mondesi for taking so long to get in the box, he called a strike before he was even in the box. In 2010, players ranked him the second worst umpire in baseball. In 2011, 41% of players called him the worst umpire in baseball, and in 2018, he ranked second least accurate umpire according to Boston University.
You know, I'm guessing like conspiracy theory, maybe you can create that, but looking at all this, I feel like the people who run the MLB, this is what they want. I mean, the drama of having disliked umpires is probably why they keep them. Otherwise, you know, there's no way there isn't a lot of more people they could use to replace them, right? It clearly seems like, to me, the drama is maybe like something they want to happen, be it a fight between the umpire and the public or the players or something. I don't know. I'm guessing again, yeah, like it makes things more entertaining. So that's why they keep these people that they know people hate and will create drama. I don't know. That's my conspiracy theory. Maybe.
Joe West umpired his last game ever in 2021, shortly after breaking the record for most games umpired in Major League history. He is 68 years old, and to be fair to him, his stats of being one of the worst umpires is probably not accurate throughout his entire career. If you evaluated his calls in his prime, he was probably an above average umpire. Boston University found that umpires seem to perform worse as they get older. Unfortunately, MLB seems to value experience, which usually leaves out any umpire on the top 10 list because they are all under the age of 40. Replacing
like it just makes sense. No, you're supposed to follow and be super attentive to like a super fast ball, right? So you need reflex, and the older you get, the worse it gets, right? I mean, I don't know where you need like crazy experience for this. You'd think they'd pick someone younger who has the actual like reflex and all that. Yeah, But again, it's maybe just for the entertainment.
Older umpires with younger minor league umpires would probably result in better calls. However, MLB seems to be going in a different direction. For several years, they have experimented with a robot ump in the Arizona Fall League and the Atlantic League. Manager Frank Viola has already been ejected at least 2 times for arguing with the robot. This pitch was seen at a player's neck and called a strike, and there have been many more bad calls.
Has someone shot the robot yet? Someone need to shoot the robot.
He has still expanded the system into the minor league level in 2021 and seems like it wants to take it to the major league level sooner rather than later. Just like instant replay, people will complain. But also, just like instant replay, it will be in Major League Baseball, and by the time it is, it will almost be, without a doubt, more accurate than Major League umpires, who are better now than they've ever been. However, their job is extremely difficult. They'll never be perfect, and it's hard to compete with a robot. Human umpires will still be needed to listen to the call in their ear set and make the strike or ball signal, and make calls on the bases. There will still be umpires, just less arguments, less bats thrown on the field, and less ejections, which to me is unfortunate. But there will also be more correct calls, which in reality is the whole point of having an umpire in the first place.
I mean, I'm kind of mixed. Like, on one end, yeah, you know, on a base level, you would say it's better if things get more accurate and more fair, right? But on the other hand, you might say that, yeah, like, I think a lot of people, you know, they might also still want the entertainment. So if you make things much more accurate, it might be less entertaining than the mess it used to be, the drama, the fights and all that. It's kind of a double-edged sword. I mean, it seems a good thing to fix the accuracy of the calls, but if it makes, you know, people less mad and so less drama, maybe it's less entertaining to watch. There might be something to it, right? I mean, if everything is so perfect, who's gonna spend like hours, you know, complaining on the internet about, you know, the umpire or the ref or something? Yeah. Interesting. Frankly, again, like, between like the most intimidating pitcher video last time and this one, yeah, I had no idea, like, you know, MLB, American Baseball, I don't know if that's quite right, is like this insane. I mean, it seems actually very fun to watch. I don't know if like every game people start fighting or something, but it seems kind of fun. It seems kind of fun, no doubt. I really need to fix that one day and actually watch a real life baseball match. I really never have at this point. Here's the link. Very good video. Very interesting video. Crazy stuff.